So, how exactly did the Garden of Eden survive the flood? Many have asked this question. Of course, we know some are insincere, but some are sincere. And we wanted to get to this, and finally we're here. Wouldn't it have been overrun with water from the flood? Well, the simple answer is no. And it must be, because Scripture is very clear. The garden remains in the end times in Revelation 3 times, as it will be reopened to us, believers. We've covered this before in part, but we haven't come to a direct answer to this question, so we wanted to create this video to do so. Even the Hebrew word gan, interpreted garden, has 2 meanings, as enclosure is the second meaning. Meaning it is an enclosed garden. And when Adam and Eve were exiled, the angels were only placed on the east side, one position, not north, south, west, or even above. And the garden is enclosed, period. That's what Scripture says. That's what the Hebrew word says. That's always been the case. It is amazing how few scholars even have a clue about that. Now, no one's getting in. So anyone demanding that we have to go inside the Garden of Eden in order to prove it, well, how about you just stop being a fool? At least 2 angels guarded with a terrible sword. Nope, not getting in. And of course, we're told we have to in order to prove this. That's illiterate. Basically, what would you find if you went in the Garden of Eden? Well, you'd find a garden. Would you find great architecture? Well, no. Would you find archaeology? Of what? Fruit? Trees? I mean, that's what the Garden of Eden is. Can these people even read is really the question. Now, basically, when people come in and they can't read or even reason, they're just agitating in comments here on this channel. And many times, it could just be someone who is steeped in a paradigm that needs to be corrected. But regardless, we deal with those things head on here, and we always will. Basically, the Garden of Eden, the land of gold, neither one have in ancient times anything that would leave an archaeological signature. Because ancient gold mining, as we covered in a recent video on archaeology, pretty much same thing. Ancient gold mining in the Philippines was picking it up off of the ground. Duh. So what would you need? Well, a basket maybe. That is proven in history as fact as well in the Philippines. Watch those videos. Also, H. Otley Beyer most certainly found bones of elephants predating the Sultanate of Sulu and Solomon, for that matter, published, and credibly so, proven as well as other sources of ivory found in archaeology predating King Solomon. Of course, there's the Philippines also traded with neighbors known for ivory. So, the illiterate blogger out there, the guy's so nonsensical, which is no wonder he only gets 15 views in an entire week. Talk about the definition of insanity to continue such idiocy, to claim we lied about elephants in the Philippines. No, history doesn't, liar, and he's the one that lied, of course, as always. However, the location is preserved below the land known today as the Philippines, former Havilah, land of Adam and Eve. We've proven that out. And the land of gold in all of history. Now again, watch our Garden of Eden series, Rivers from Eden series, Solomon's Gold series, as well as our published position in our 384-page book, The Search for King Solomon's Treasure, which is supported by a 300-page source book of historic, credible, valid sources no one can disprove nor put a little tiny dent in. No academic, no rabbi, no scholar, no pastor, and certainly not some illiterate blogger. But how did the Garden of Eden survive the flood? Well, no scripture says it was destroyed. That's just not there. So anyone saying that it was, that's an assumption, and it's a poor assumption. It's wrong. It's still there in Revelation again after the day of judgment. So how do you reconcile that? Well, we found references very directly to how the garden survived the flood. And here you go. Well, one thing we know for sure and have proven is that, well, the garden didn't move in some Kabbalistic or alien view of a spaceship beaming it up into the sky or into heaven, and pretty much the same narrative when you think about it, in nonsense, because why would Yahuah need to take it up into the sky? To protect it from the flood? Wait till you see what Scripture actually says, because we have this here. Now, note didn't go to another planet or another plane of existence, right? In the latest from science about, different realms, which, has been in the Bible all along. It's called the spirit realm, and there aren't many of them, but whatever, okay? In fact, the location of the garden, as we cover, is even mapped in 4000 BC by the prophet Enoch. That's before the flood. It's mapped in the same place in 2500 BC by Noah, so it didn't move. It's also referenced in 2200 BC in the same place in Joktan's migration, Genesis 10. 1700 BC by Moses, Genesis 2 especially. 1000 BC in the story of Solomon's navy. 800 to 150 BC in historic mappings covering that era. 43 AD, 70 AD, 124 AD, and all the way to the 1100s, 1200s, 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, and so on, as we cover in over multiple videos. They all lead to one place, the Philippines in the Far East. That is proven fact at this point. No one can disprove it, and no one has in over 6 years now, and the case has just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger, even since publishing our book. So, however, in this video, is the Garden of Eden still there? We prove the garden, in fact, is still there in the same place even, and is a part of prophecy, a bedrock of the future world, with Yahusha. Again, referenced in Revelation after the day of judgment 3 times. So it's still there, still in the same place. So we should know where it is and why it is so important indeed. It certainly is to Yahuah and Yahusha. So if it's not for anyone watching this video, especially those who haven't watched the other videos, well, just don't pretend to be in a relationship with them if you're going to try to marginalize or minimize this topic, because you can't. But again, how exactly did the garden survive the monumental, one-of-a-kind mass destruction of the flood? I mean, no way, right? Way it did. Let's go to the book of Job, where Yahuah answers this himself, and very well. Job 38:3. This is Yahuah speaking to Job, who wrote it down before Moses wrote, according to many scholars, which is likely. That makes sense. Gird up now thy loins like a man. Oops. Yahuah just told Job, grow up. Be mature, right? Stop whining, you baby. Now, in all fairness, Job had been through it, okay? We all know that, and if any of us went through what Job went through, man, we'd probably react the same way or far worse. Job was very strong, stronger than most of us, of course. So when you see such response and comments, by the way, to a babe offering, well, watered-down milk on a channel that teaches meat, Yahuah started it, okay? Because that's his response to that, and it's ours too. These are his words, so there. Now, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me, where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Oh, yeah. Job's jaw drops to the floor there. This is an awakening moment for him, being taught to keep things in perspective. And what does Yahuah do here? Well, he doesn't coddle him. He gives him some nice hard love, really. He affirms creation, though. That's where he starts here. Hello, he was there, right? For those saying, oh, we don't have an eyewitness account of creation. How illiterate can you be? Yahuah is doing that right here. He happened to be an eyewitness, and Job just wrote his words down. So, now, no, the Sumerian Nephilim, well, they weren't there. They weren't even in existence yet. So how illiterate for those scholars even, because some do, claim that Sumerian tablets are the origin of the Bible. That is the dumbest paradigm ever. To claim Yahuah, basically, in this story from Job, written, yes, but it's from his lips here. To say that that's somehow from the Sumerian Nephilim is the dumbest paradigm out there. And so-called Bible scholars that accept that are accepting leaven. Declare, says Yahuah, if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Job well knew Elohim did, right? Or who hath stretched the line upon it, whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Ooh, you mean the earth has foundations that are fastened? How's that work on a globe? You really need to look into that. Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? Yes, Yahuah says, and he happens to be the creator, of course, an eyewitness again, and kind of knows better than any modern scientist or scholar for that matter. When they disagree with him, there's a major problem with what they're saying. It is illiterate. Verse 7, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of Elohim, that's the B'nai Ha Elohim in Hebrew, same as Genesis 6, who, by the way, can never be the sons of Seth or mankind, but are only angels in Scripture, period. The term's only used 4 times. We've covered this with the concordances before. Watch our Who is the Nephilim video for one. Though you do find in English, sons of God, in interpretation, but that's not the same Hebrew phrase as is used in Genesis 6, nor here, which is only in Scripture 4 times. And to equate the two, well, again, for scholars to do that, because only based on English, is illiterate to Scripture. They just don't even know what they're talking about, and we should take those scholars and just shove them aside in the corner with a dunce cap where they belong. So the sons of Elohim shouted for joy. Now we find that affirmed, no, not affirmed, in origin from the book of Jubilees. Why? Because Yahuah is quoting the book of Jubilees, really the heavenly tablets, the origin of the book of Jubilees here. Wow. Or who shut up the sea with doors? Whoa, what? You mean the sea has doors? We'll vet that further. Just wait. When it brake forth, as if it had issued out of the womb. When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it. This is creation, folks. Now, he'll get to the flood in a moment, too. Verses 10 and 11. And break up for it my decreed place. Whoa! Do we know what that is? That's not just a little statement there, folks. His decreed place. What is that? His holy of holies. And it always has been. That is where his presence has resided on earth since creation. And this is creation, folks. He's not talking about the temporary one in Israel here, but the permanent one which is in the Garden of Eden. Boom. Now, we'll show you that in Scripture in a second. And set bars and doors. Okay, so specifically in regards to the Garden of Eden, see, here you go, which is enclosed, it's protected right here in Scripture. There are bars, there are doors. The garden was protected during the flood. The flood was held back from the garden, but he'll say it again, so hang on, here we go. And said, hitherto shalt thou come. So only here, but no further. The flood waters were stopped before entering the garden. And here shall thy proud waves be stayed. Now, understand, in Jubilees 2, in fact, it talks about the angels basically in charge of the waters even. So we know that the infrastructure is there, but now we see doors and bars even, and in specifically guarding the entrance of the Garden of Eden, along with two angels with the terrible sword. So, wow, I mean, there's several ways here that it could have happened and did happen, but this tells you how it happened. This is so, though, since the beginning, see, as well, because the garden, according to Enoch and massive scripture, is within the earth, not up here on our level. It's enclosed, right? And so this is all so super clear in scripture. What is his decreed place? Okay, here we go. Here's scripture. Pretty simple. His Holy of Holies, which has been on earth since creation, not the one in Israel again, which was a fleeting and temporary existence and is no longer, and no longer needed because our bodies are the temple now, right? I mean, that's what scripture says. But his permanent Holy of Holies. Here's Jubilees 8:19. This is Noah's record. Okay, Noah wrote this portion that was given to Moses from the heavenly tablets, and we're going to actually talk a little more about who wrote Genesis. Did Moses write it? And Jubilees in a future video coming very, very soon, because we're going to launch a new series, Restoring Creation, that's going to require it. So, but Noah knew the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies and the dwelling of Yahuah. Those are his words. One of only 3 locations that are considered his holy places in Scripture on all of earth. There's a 4th listed as a holy mountain. It's the Mount of the East, but it's also located within the Garden of Eden, so the 4 are still 3. That doesn't change that. Some think Mount Sinai only started to matter in the Exodus account, which even forgets Moses met Yahuah on Mount Sinai, which is the location of the burning bush of his presence, right? So that was before he even went to Egypt and before the Exodus, so not so. However, this is a holy place, as well as Mount Zion in the North Pole, yes, the North Pole, the center of the navel of the earth, since creation. The Bible paradigm does not begin with Israel. It just doesn't. In fact, what happened in Israel before the flood? Well, that's the home of the big infraction, the big thing that caused the flood, in fact, Yahuah's reaction in the flood, where fallen angels came down on Mount Hermon, which is named such because of their breaking their oath. Right? They took an oath to break their oath to Yahuah, and their oath was to sin. So breaking Yahuah's law, lawlessness, it's all the same thing. So they came down in Israel. So that is the hotbed, that is the origin of the Nephilim, and the whole narrative is Israel. So before the flood, that was majorly a defiled land, folks, and had no biblical significance in any other sense, at least not in the positive sense. It's nonsensical when people try to go back and say, oh, but Israel's the Garden of Eden. No, it's not. There's no scripture that ever leads to that. It's completely illiterate. It has to be on Shem's eastern border. There's tons and tons and tons. Enoch tells you that it's northeast of basically the exit of the Indian Ocean, which is the Malay Peninsula, essentially. So northeast of that's called the Philippines. It always has been in geography, and it always will. Now, the Bible paradigm does not begin, again, with Israel. A lot of scholars don't get that, but this is also affirmed in Jubilees 4, which is specific to the flood. Let's go there. Jubilees chapter 4, verse 23 and 24 here. And he, this is Enoch, was taken from amongst the children of men, or Genesis says, was not, for Elohim took him, right? And we, the angels, conducted him into the Garden of Eden. That's where he went. No, not heaven. He visited heaven, yes, but he didn't reside there and still doesn't. Watch, where did Enoch go? We prove that. No one will argue with it. As well as where are Enoch and Elijah, who's with him there, now. How about that? No, Elijah didn't go to heaven. Scripture never says that he did, not if you understand Hebrew and you're actually reading. Now, that is well-proven fact, and again, watch those videos. Don't try to argue that here. Debate and ignorance is not tolerated on this channel. Our channel, our rules. Yes, debate is welcome once you've actually reviewed something, but when we lead you to a video to go and review the case and you don't, and you try to argue, you're not doing that. Forget it. In majesty and honor, and behold, there he writes down the condemnation and judgment of the world. Until when? Well, it happens when? When is the judgment of the world? The world was not judged in the flood. See, that's something that people are misreading. Yes, it was a judgment in a sense, but people's spirits haven't been judged yet. That doesn't happen until the day of judgment. And again, if Enoch's still there until then, that means the garden is still there. And all the wicked, he's going to say it again, don't worry, here it is. And all the wickedness of the children of men. That would include all generations of all time, not just the flood, right? Now, how do we know that? Let's read. And on account of it, Elohim brought the waters of the flood upon all the land of Eden. That's not the Garden of Eden. That's the land of Eden, which is a separate entity, a separate thing, according to this very book of Jubilees. It even maps it out and does it from numerous locations in Shem's mapping. And also you see it in Ham's mapping, and you see it in Japheth even, that it's very clear that that's the case. That's how Enoch saw things as well. So Noah and Enoch were on the same page, of course. Noah was his grandson. We proved this out, that the land of Eden, in fact, is in the North Pole. The Garden of Eden was planted in the far east, not in the North Pole. The rivers from Eden begin in the North Pole and terminate in the land of the Garden of Eden, exactly as Scripture says, because their purpose is to water the garden. Watch our series, The Garden Was Not Destroyed. The whole land of Eden is in the North Pole and remains there. It's just under ice now, and no one can find it, but it's there. Some try to apply Eden as the former name of the earth, in fact, and actually that's possible. There's actually, something can be said for that, though we've never seen a direct connection to it. It's just assumed, but okay, fine. But the garden itself is not in the North Pole. For there he was set as a sign, so the Garden of Eden, he's established as a sign, and that he should testify against all the children of men. That's all the generations, okay? That he should recount all the deeds of the generations until the day of condemnation, which is not the flood. No, the day of condemnation, the condemnation of spirits, is the day of judgment. That's what day. The generations of men were not complete in the flood. They were restarted there. You can call that a judgment, indeed, but it is not the day of judgment. This is specific. Yahushua will be the judge on that day, and he hadn't even come in the flesh yet back then and accomplished the many things he has already and the many more he will. That is a future event, even now in our age, and Enoch will be in the Garden of Eden until then. So he's still there right now. He affirms this in 1st Enoch as well, which we've covered in Enoch's Animal Dream Visions. Even have a book, Bible History Illustrated, phenomenal. You should check it out. Where Enoch says he's raptured, meeting Yahuah and believers in the air. Oh, is that where Paul got that from? Well, he must have gotten it from somewhere, and it's nowhere else in Scripture. So, hello, it comes from the book of 1st Enoch. And when does that happen also? Well, on the day of judgment. So, not before, doesn't work. Watch also, when does the rapture occur? Parts 1 through 3. Try to debate the whole rapture doctrine on this video, which doesn't cover that. Again, you'll be muted. Our channel, our rules. Go watch those videos. It's there. We've laid it out. However, Job again, Yahuah himself speaking here, tells even more about this topic in chapter 28. Let's go there before we end this video. Now let's go back to Job 28, not 38, 28, verse 1. Surely there is a vein for the silver. So a whole vein of silver runs through where? The land of gold. That's what this chapter is about. You're going to see. But hang on. And a place for gold where they find it. So it's the land of silver and gold, which is what? Ophir and Tarshish in Scripture. So Job, or again, this is Yahuah speaking, is setting up the geography for the land of the Garden of Eden, just as Genesis 2 always has. It is the land of gold, one in the same. Always has been. We call it the Philippines today, and we've proven that very well. Iron is taken out of the earth. Well, that's an abundant resource of the Philippines, as we've proven out as well in our book, as well as a series. And associated with Tarshish, in fact. And brass is molten out of the stone. Oh, that's funny, because once again, the Philippines is number one in, well, what's that word, brass? It's actually copper, is the accurate translation in English. Also on all of earth to this day. Wow. Philippines, number one in copper. That's what brass is in the Hebrew Bible. You see the definition on screen. In fact, you hear the Bible doesn't actually say that Solomon's copper mines, that King Solomon had copper mines, that's not actually there, but it doesn't matter. That's an ancient legend, and okay, so what? The Philippines, still number one, even though it's not even in the Bible as far as that narrative. But that's okay. Still number one. As it is Ophir, Sheba, and Tarshish in every sense, even the ones that aren't biblical. And that's amazing. That's always been the Bible land of gold. Now, again, watch those series, especially Solomon's Gold series. That's where we prove that. We're not reproving that in a few sentences in this video, nor will anyone try to debate it here, our channel, our rules. Now, he setteth an end to darkness and searcheth out all perfection, the stones of darkness and the shadow of death. Verse 4. Now this verse we really break down because the translation here is not even close. So we're going to correct it here because we already have. Again, not up for debate on this video. Go watch the one we point you to. This word in Hebrew for dried up is never dried up. That's nonsense. It's just this one instance that it's interpreted that way, which tells you something is awry. It means brought low, because that's where the rivers of Eden are. They're at the bottom of the ocean floor, very obviously. And this phrase, gone away from men, is really poor because that word in Hebrew means shaken. It's where the volcanic activity on earth is, over 80% of it. Wow, what a match. But again, no surprise coming from Yahuah and Job writing it and recording it. We prove this in Did Science Find the Foundations of the Great Deep? That's Flood series. I think part 6H, if I have that right. We cover that on screen. There's also a part 2, 6I after that, which continues. Both are worth a watch. Try to debate this point again without watching that evidence. Be muted. No debate in ignorance. Our channel, our rules. Now, the flood, that word flood, is actually nahar, by the way. In Hebrew, that's rivers. This flood came from the source rivers from Eden on the bottom of the ocean floor today, but not before the flood, as 2nd Esdras tells us. The world before the flood was only 15% water compared to our 70% today. Again, we prove all that out in that series. There's so much data there you've got to review before even thinking about debate. Breaketh out, so the flood breaketh out from the inhabitant. What's that mean? Well, it's the inhabitant of the rivers from Eden. And that's what's being identified here. It's the fountains of the great deep. That's the origin of the flood. They still remain inside these rivers today on the bottom of the ocean deep, and what we call the mid-ocean ridge and trenches, which are the ancient rivers from Eden. We prove. Watch that series. No one can disprove this strong theory, nor will they. Even the waters forgotten of the foot, of course they are forgotten. They are buried under a new world ocean formed in the flood. They are brought low. That's what it actually says. That means to the bottom of the ocean floor, exactly as it should be. That's corrected Hebrew and accurate. They shake men. Oh, wow. Indeed, over 80% of all the earthquake activity on the entire Earth takes place in this ocean deep, in the mid-ocean ridge and oceanic trenches. There you go. As for the earth, out of it cometh bread, and under it is turned up as it were fire. The stones of it are the place of sapphires, and it hath dust of gold. Yes, the gold of Ophir and Havilah are one. Sapphires are also mentioned near the Garden of Eden by Enoch. We cover that in Answers in 1st Enoch. And in the Philippines, there are numerous blue stones that could fit that. They certainly look like sapphire. They don't have to be what they call that today. In ancient times, there is no difference. Enoch was not measuring the scientific variety here, nor does modern gemology represent the actual origin of sapphire necessarily, because the Bible precedes them by thousands of years. It just looks like it, and that's all it has to. Verse 7, there is a path which no fowl knoweth. Why? Because it's on the bottom of the ocean, the path of the rivers from Eden. No bird goes there, doesn't, so it fits. And which the vulture's eye hath not seen. Now, see, they can't see into the great deep, can they? No, indeed. The lion's whelp have not trodden it, nor the fierce lion passed by it. Nope, no lions on the bottom of the ocean floor. Yep, on this issue, there's a communist channel of frauds who ridicule our valid findings on the rivers from Eden, saying, how did Daniel breathe on the bottom of the ocean floor? Which is literally stupid. Daniel stood on the banks of the Hiddekel River when he stood in Iran on the continental shelf overlooking the Persian Gulf, where he had his vision not on the Tigris River, which didn't even exist before the flood, by the way, so could not be the Hiddekel River from Eden, but, again, a ludicrous assumption that we see even installed into some Bible translations. Tigris is inserted when the word in Hebrew is Hiddekel, which is never the Tigris, period. Now, we prove that. Watch the 2 videos we have on Hiddekel. He putteth forth his hand upon the rock. He overturneth the mountains by its roots. Now, kind of an odd fact here, and this is fascinating when you see this in Scripture. Wow. Mount Everest is as tall as Marianas Trench, the deepest trench on Earth, is deep. Not exactly, but hey, that's pretty cool that the Bible would make such a statement, and it turns out that's about right. It's as if Mount Everest was turned upside down, and there you have the Marianas Trench in depth. It's amazing. Wow. Verses 10 and 11, and we'll end here. He cutteth out rivers among the rocks. This is at creation, folks. It's talking about the rivers from Eden. This is where we have covered the rivers from Eden were cut out, and we'll cover that day of creation, in fact, in our coming Restoring Creation series. We'll tell you what day it is, even. And his eye seeth every precious thing. He bindeth the floods. Ding, 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 ding. This word is so important in Hebrew. I'll talk about it in a second. From overflowing, and the thing that is hid bringeth he forth to light. So Yahuah cut out the rivers from Eden, which are hidden now. They're on the bottom of the ocean floor. And this is specific to the land of Havilah. The resources are listed, in fact, matching those of Solomon, matching those of Havilah. What is the purpose of the rivers from Eden in Genesis 2:10? Well, to water the Garden of Eden, all connected. This also matches Enoch's description of the land of the garden as well. Job also ties onyx stone with the gold of Ophir, in fact, just like Genesis 2, and also with sapphire in the same verse. That's a few verses later. We're going to stop here, but if you read verse 16 in the same chapter. So this whole chapter is really about the land of gold in the Garden of Eden. How about that? The modern Philippines, it proves to be. Now, the word here, floods, in Hebrew, basically is the word for river, nahar, in Hebrew. And the flood, indeed, originated in the rivers from Eden, from the fountains of the great deep, which are its inhabitant, according to Job as well. All the same paradigm here. This is all Job. Now, that's just fact. However, this word, according to Strong's Concordance, in this aspect means underground streams. Now, because the rivers from Eden are under the ocean, on the bottom of the ocean floor, well, right where they must be, duh, there was a flood, hello. These were cut out at creation by Elohim. Brown Driver Briggs' lexicon goes even deeper, specifying, tying this definition, underground streams, is the meaning of this word, nahar, in Job 28:11, right here specifically. Now, we know another channel, again, of communist losers tried to attack ours, claiming, here's the definition, and do you see underground streams there? And they said, well, no, it's not there. Well, they lied, because right on their own screen, on the second page of the definition, very specifically to Job 28:11, it says, underground streams. Duh. Be careful with anything that channel teaches, because they take you in the Philippines to being subservient to China and Russia, as communists do. So yes, it is underground streams that Yahuah carved out. They were not underground at that time in the beginning, but now they are, as the New World Ocean was formed in the flood. They are in the great ocean deep at the bottom of the ocean floor, where again, they have to be, according to mega scripture and references we've now covered. So the Garden of Eden and rivers from Eden are still there. We've already proven the rivers were buried in the flood by water, but still function to this day. But see, Enoch says they flow down into the garden. We covered the science on that as well. The garden is still Yahuah's holy of holies on all of earth. We don't need another temple in Israel, and the only purpose of a third temple, which yes is in scripture, but why? For what purpose? Well, for the beast to declare that he is God. That is not Yahuah's temple. Job records that Yahuah said the garden was protected during the flood, as there is a mechanism Yahuah created at creation in which the garden entrance has doors and bars. So no one is getting in, nor is water. Enoch remains there until the day of judgment. So really, this has never been a debate, and now it is settled. Now we all know how the Garden of Eden survived the flood, and it certainly did, as it's again still there in Revelation 3 times on the day of judgment, which has not happened yet. So there you go. And there you have it. Yah bless. We have over 470 videos on this channel, one for every day of the year plus now. Many just as profound, with some 50 or so in Tagalog for Filipinos, and now 6 in Spanish to start. We also have been setting up subtitles for 20 plus languages for most of our videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications of new uploads. Join our email list, as YouTube fails to notify often. And we will notify you ourselves at thegodculture.com. Just fill in the pop-up there. We now have alternative platforms for videos on Rumble, Odyssey, and Utreon. And our new podcast is available for all of our videos pretty much as well. All links in the description box, and friend us on Facebook at The God Culture, space original. That is our only Facebook page, only one that we're checking and using. If you prefer an alternative, we now have Parler and Gab, links below. We have 6 books published internationally, being read in over 100 countries. And actually, I correct that. It's now 7. How about that? With our new release, the first book of Bible History Illustrated, Enoch's Animal Dream Visions. We also have now launched Ophir, Philippines Coffee Table Book in the U.S., Canada, UK, and many overseas markets on Amazon, and it's available in hardcover or softcover there. Also, this first book of Bible History Illustrated is available only in color. We're not even doing this in black and white. Only in color, and you can get it in color, softcover, or hardcover on Amazon. Coming to the Philippines soon. Not yet. We're not there yet, but we will get there. Additionally, we launched the Book of Jubilees, the Torah calendar, with color maps and interiors, as so many had requested that overseas, rightfully so. We already have that in the Philippines. The Philippine copies have color maps inside already. That too is available on Amazon in hardcover, softcover, both in color, or in black and white softcover if you wish. All books, including Solomon's Treasurer, are now free in eBook. We're not going to do an eBook for this one because we have this video series animated, and we're going to release one with all 5 as one video as well. So no need to do an ebook when we'll have the video animation. More coming soon. Thank you for watching. Now always remember, prove all things for yourself. Yah bless to everyone.